This lesson will focus on animals, which of course belong to kingdom Animalia. All animals are eukaryotic, which means that their cells have membrane-bound organelles, including a nucleus and also a mitochondria. Animals are also multicellular, which means they are an organism that consists of many cells, making them macroscopic for the most part, meaning these are the animals that we can see with our naked eyes. Animals are also heterotrophic, meaning that they obtain their food or organic carbon by eating other heterotrophs or autotrophs, making them consumers. Most animals are motile, which means that they can move at some point during their life cycle. The animal that you see in the diagram on this slide is actually a very primitive chordate called a lancelet. It shows some of the basic structures that go into making an animal. The structure of animals differs greatly from some of the other kingdoms that we've talked about thus far. Most animals have true tissue layers. One exception may be the sponges, which have tissue-like layers, but they're not considered to be true tissues. Another characteristic that separates animals from other kingdoms is the fact that they have no cell walls. You may recall that plant cells have cell walls made of cellulose, and bacteria have cell walls made of peptidoglycan. Well, the cells of animals have no such cell walls. In fact, their cells are surrounded by an extracellular matrix that is composed of collagen and elastic glycoproteins. This is a very important innovation, for it allows for relative flexibility of cells. It provides a complex framework from which cells can reorganize themselves, and this helps to make complex tissues such as nervous systems and muscle tissues. If you look at the picture on this slide, that is actually a picture of a neuron. It is stained with a phosphorescent dye so that you can see the complex dendrites coming out from all of it. And of course the axon, which is the big bright appendage coming out of the cell. If animals had cell walls, complex cells such as this one would not be possible. So the many innovations we see in the animal kingdom based on the cellular level are all possible because animal cells do not have cell walls. Another characteristic of animals is that nearly all of them undergo some form of sexual reproduction. Now, some animals are actually capable of a form of asexual reproduction called parthenogenesis, where the fertile eggs are produced in females without mating actually occurring. But for most animals, mating does need to occur, and this would of course result in sperm fertilizing an egg or an ovum, just as you see in the picture on this slide. Animals also go through some interesting and unique developmental stages. All animals start out as a zygote or a fertilized egg, and this zygote, after being fertilized, will undergo cell division to become a hollow ball of cells called a blastula. Now, this blastula will eventually fold over on itself, forming the gastrula. So this is called gastrulation and forms separate germ layers, which eventually become tissue layers. If you look at the diagram on the right, you can see the gastrula is at the bottom. The blue layers of cells, the light blue layers of cells, represent the ectoderm, and this eventually becomes the skin of the animal. The yellow cells represent the endoderm, and this, in most animals, becomes the gut or some other form of a digestive organ. Sometimes between these two layers you'll form a mesoderm, and depending on the complexity of the animal, you may develop from this complex organs and muscle tissues. Animals appear to have gotten their origin from a flagellated eukaryotic protist called a choanoflagellate. It is pictured there on the right, and at the top picture is an individual choanoflagellate, and the bottom picture is one of several choanoflagellates together. What's interesting is that these choanoflagellates actually are very similar to the choanocytes found on the inside of sponges, which are the simplest of all animal forms. Now, as for the timing of when animals originated on Earth, the fossil record suggests that animals may have originated on Earth about 610 million years ago. About 542 million years ago, there was a very interesting occurrence on planet Earth. Many scientists call this the Cambrian explosion. The Cambrian is a time period in Earth's history that goes back to about 500 or 600 million years ago. And what's interesting is that during this time, the fossil record suggests that animal phyla just appeared on our planet at an alarming rate. If you notice in the diagram, at the bottom are all the major animal phyla. You may recognize some of them. Sponges and cnidarians would be jellyfish. Mollusks would include clams and snails and squid and octopus. Arthropods would be your insects and crustaceans, and echinoderms are your starfish, and chordates would be your vertebrates, your fish. But notice all the invertebrates seem to have got their start during the Cambrian period, and they diversified greatly after that, all the way up to today, and most of them, of course, are still with us here on planet Earth today.